Hello everybody, my name is NCeeks and welcome back to the final episode of my Black Ops 4 tier list series. Today we're going to be finishing it off with the competitive specialist tier list. Quickly, I'm going to go over the ranks again for the tier list and then we're going to get right into it. S tier is essentially a carry specialist. It can carry the game. It could be the determining factor of a match. A tier is very good. It's really nothing wrong with it. It's just it can't solo carry a match by itself or a specific situation. B tier, good specialist. It just has one or two counters to it. C tier, situational. D tier is just absolute trash and won't be used. So we are going to start off with battery and work our way down to 0. So starting off with battery, I have her at B tier. Great specialist, especially with the nade. Nade in S&D is very good. Can cut off chokes. Can punish a player for being overly aggressive in a certain room or building, and can just flood out enemies with cluster grenades because of how RNG they are, and you can just get a random kill with it. But what keeps it a B tier, not A tier, is the War Machine. The War Machine has a problem where it's countered so hard by Flak Jacket. Flak Jacket counters this thing so hard. You could shoot 3 War Machine shots at a player with Flak Jacket and still not kill him. Because of this, I have to put it a B tier because of how easily it is counterable by 1 perk. Moving on to Crash. Crash, I have an A tier. In my opinion, Crash is the best specialist in the game that is not hard carry potential. It is the best specialist because Attack 5 is just such a useful specialist. It's such a useful specialist weapon, quote unquote, even knowing it's not a weapon. You never really know how important Attack 5 is until you watch your film, until you watch your games and realize, wow, if I didn't have Attack 5, I would have lost that gunfight. That was round 11. That was the match. So Attack 5 is just so good, so useful. Nothing's really wrong with it. Nothing can be countered by it except obviously like a gun or your aim, but like that's not really a counter. And then the assault pack is really good. If you're close to streaks, it's just Crash is a very well-made specialist and it's just very good. Moving on to Firebreak, I have a C tier. The reason why I have a C tier is it's really only used on frequency because of how close range it is. The Purifier is not a very well-ranged. It's not very versatile. It's really only good on close range maps, and the only really close range map on this game is frequency. The only non-close range part about that map is like top, mid, and pipes. Besides that, everything else is corridors, hallways, and little rooms. So it works perfectly on maps like frequency. But because it is a good specialist, but because of how bad the range is on it, I just have to put it at C tier because of how situational it is. Moving on to Prophet. Prophet, I have it A tier. Very good specialist. Nothing really wrong with it. It has one shot, and that one shot could turn into 5 kills because of the chain. The chain is what keeps it at A tier because it is just so useful. One shot could lead to an entire team wipe. There's no other gun like that, really. And, like, obviously, well, the War Machine, well, yeah, but, like, one guy's gonna have flak. Like, one guy is gonna have flak, I bet. So, like, with this weapon, you're just gonna shoot it once and change the entire team. That's so useful in the game modes like a hard point and control, where you know where the enemy is gonna be. You know where the enemy is gonna be in a certain area for certain circumstances. It's a great specialist. Not too hard to use. It does have a scope, so it's easier to aim. And again, the chain. The chain is great. But what does not put it S tier is because of the nerfs. The nerfs that have come to Prophet in the Tempest are just it has killed it. The hipfire got destroyed on this thing after Vegas, and also it feels as if the bullet reg isn't as good on it. Like the hitbox of the bullet that actually gets shot out is not as big, or it just feels something feels off. If you ask Tempest players, does the Tempest feel off compared to before Vegas to now? Obviously they're gonna say yes, but they're gonna say it feels weird to aim at people. It doesn't feel like it's my shots are hitting like they should be. But still, great specialist, deserves to be an A tier, just does not have that hard carry potential. Moving on to Recon. Recon I have at B tier. Great specialist. Having Vision Pulse is just it could be the determining factor of a round or a rotation, like on hard point or obviously a round on S&D. But what keeps it at B tier is not really a counter, but just because of how long it takes to get, that's its own counter. It counters itself because of how long it takes to get. Especially in S&D, you're essentially, you know, you're either hoping you 6-0 or you go to around 11, because this thing is almost useless unless you go to round 10 or round 11, or your recon is just going off, which is not going to happen every game. So recon, I have a B tier only because it counters itself because of because of how long it takes to get. Besides that, it probably would be an A tier. It's a great specialist, but just takes way too long, so it essentially counters itself. Moving on to Ruin. Ruin is going to be our first character in S tier. I believe Ruin is the only character in this game that has the hard carry potential, but in a different sense. He has the hard carry potential to shut out games, to clutch up on games. He is the only specialist, in my opinion, that takes no real skill to go off with. And what I mean by that is there's skill when it comes to the grapple and the movement, but when it comes down to it, you literally have an insta-kill AoE in your grab slam with maps like Frequency, with maps like Gridlock, some hard points on Hacienda, some hard points on Arsenal. Playing with this on hardpoint is almost a guaranteed hill, and it can easily win your team the game. 100% the specialist is the only specialist in the game where you don't really have the aim to get its full value, and its full value could be an entire team wipe. It's so hard to counter. I mean, it is counterable. You can kill the grab spike, but because of how much the hitbox changes and how quick it is, it's very, very difficult. It is one of the only specialists, in my opinion, where you have to make the specialist worth it. Like, you have to. If your grab spike player does not, get his moment once per game, obviously if you get one kill is still one kill. You have to work off it. But like your grab spike player, like you don't really talk about how your grab spike player only got, or he didn't get any kills. You talk about how he only got 2 kills. You know what I mean? Like, you expect your grab spike player to go off. That's rare. That's not really with other specialists. So I ran along about the Ruin, but it's because I believe Ruin and his grab slam to just be so valuable, and especially with grapple, pair it with on respawn like hardpoint grappling in a hill, R1 L1 or L2 R2 into hill, boom, 3 kills. That's almost an entire team wipe in full control of the hill. In my opinion, easily S tier without a doubt. Moving on to Serif. Serif, I have an S tier as well. Now I don't remember if the Annihilator got G8 again, but I'm putting it S tier. It is just, I put it S tier because, again, at the beginning of the video I said S tier, or did I say at the beginning of the video? But I'm gonna say it now. S tier is hard to carry potential, but it's also hard to carry skill. Like, if you are just so good with this thing, it is the best specialist in the game. And that's the same thing with the Annihilator. It's a one-shot weapon that has good iron sights, and the only thing holding it back is your aim, your reaction time, and COD timing. But besides that, I mean, like, there's nothing really to counter it. You can't counter the Annihilator. You can counter it by flooding them, throwing nades at them, stuns at them. But if they, I mean, because it is 100% accurate. Like it's basically 100% accurate. So if your Annihilator player is just insanely talented, you're not going to be disappointed with the performance. He's just so, if he has great aim, it's almost a done deal when he gets it So because of just how good Annihilator is put in the right hands, I have to put it in S tier because this thing could turn into the definition of a hard carry specialist. Moving on to Zero. Zero, I have a C tier. Just very situational. I believe she's GA'd. I don't completely know, though. She might be actually banned. Well, she's not banned. I believe she's GA'd. Just very situational. I mean, especially with AI streaks being taken out, you can't really, take control of a sniper's nest or a drone squad or attack chopper. So you're really only using it for the EMP grenade and the EMP effect on the ice pick for the players. But like, why would you do that? Why would you use it? I was tempted to put it in the D tier, but at the same time, It doesn't show you your specialist. You can't use your specialist. It doesn't show you your ammo. So it's very situational, but it's not terrible. It's just situational of like maybe using S&D for certain maps. Maybe if you know a team has a certain strat where they need a nade or need a stun and they can't remember if they have it or not, or if they can't just use it. So Zero, if AI streaks were allowed, I would probably have her in B tier, but because they are not, I just have to have her in C tier for situational purposes. Alright guys, that will conclude my final episode of my Black Ops 4 tier list series. We went through casual, we went through competitive, we went through weapons and specialists for casual and competitive, and I had a blast. These are always one of my favorite series to do and always one of my most popular. I always try to do them. I want to branch out to other games and maybe do them, but I'm trying to stick to COD as much as possible for you guys, and occasionally putting out this casually competing series and other side projects. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy the episode, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next chapter.